Oh, I want to welcome everyone. We are recording this session. It's the 2nd of May, 2020 on a nice Saturday evening for many of us, maybe Saturday afternoon or morning for some. And I'm just so delighted to have Viviane Theby here tonight. Viviane lives in Germany, and I'm just going to tell you briefly the story how we met Viviane. It was November of 2017, and a week earlier, Germany, you maybe remember, came out with this article, research that had been done, like a 70% decline in flying insects. And we got this urgent communication from Viviane, who we'd never heard from before, and she said, "Can you help?" And we contacted her and her husband Carl, and within a week's time we were in Germany. They had been experimenting with holistic management, and they really liked their experiment. But they knew there must be much more to learn about it, and so they brought Christopher, my husband, and myself over to Germany, and we got to spend about 10 days with them. Maybe it was even 12 days. It was such a lovely experience working with Viviane and Carl, and they've just been doing great things ever since. They've enjoyed their work with holistic management, and Viviane herself has become an accredited professional with the Savory Institute and really doing extremely well with holistic management. So the name of this presentation is Independent from Rain, because they've been struggling with rain, and you're going to hear her tell that story. And I just want to know, I know we've got quite a few people from Germany here, and if you need interpreting in German, would you please tell us that? And I'm going to just have Viviane take over from here because I would like her to say that in German, please.
Ja, hallo, guten Abend an alle. Von den Leuten, die aus Deutschland hier sind, gibt es jemand, der kein Englisch versteht? Weil wir haben ja gesagt, es wird sonst zweisprachig gehalten, aber wenn alle Englisch verstehen, können wir auch nur bei Englisch bleiben. Also, wie sieht das aus?
So there's two ways they could tell us that chat would be the easiest way. There's also, okay, good. We're just waiting to see if any of the German people need the translation into German.
Und für die, die vielleicht nicht alles verstehen, ihr dürft jederzeit zwischenfragen. Ja, also bitte scheut euch da nicht, jederzeit zwischenzufragen.
Viviane, what you can explain to them is in their control panel, there's a thing called reactions. I don't know if is it coming up for you in German, the control panel, or is it in English?
It's in German.
Yeah, good. So tell them if they want you to stop, they can use the reactions to get you to stop, and then we'll do a quick translation of whatever. Can you just tell them that in German, please?
Also ihr seht unten in der Anzeige dieses Kästchen Reaktionen. Und wenn ihr möchtet, dass wir stoppen und eine Sache dann auf Deutsch übersetzen, könnt ihr das anklicken. Ist das in Ordnung für alle? Yep. Yep.
Okay, super. I think we're okay, aren't we, with English for the most part. So Viviane, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and give you the chance to share your PowerPoint now.
Okay, then I share my screen.
Great. So I'm turning it over to you now, Viviane.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Sheila. Yes, and I also remembered those days when you were first here, and since then Sheila is my very good mentor, and yeah, it's such a great gift to have so nice people to learn from. And what we decided was to tell about how can we grow grass independent from rain, because time are getting more challenging. How can I? Okay, first I want to introduce myself. Yeah, as Sheila says, I'm an accredited professional now, and I'm a farmer and a vet, and I'm living with my partner Karl in Germany, in the Middle West, near the border of Luxembourg, on the Scheuerhof, which is a very old farm. It was first told from it in the 11th century, so it's very old. Yeah, times are getting more and more challenging. We have more weather extremes. So here you see the rain from March and April this year. And we had already in April very, very dry. So I had almost to close my plant grazing chart to plan it for the non-growing season, because yeah, we had so less rain. And so it was just in time that we met Sheila and Christopher, because 2018 and 2019 were very dry years here in Germany, and we managed to get over it, and I want to show you how in this presentation. So it started with the TED Talk, you all know, and as I'm a very yeah, scientific person also, I thought, he can tell a lot. I don't believe it so easy, but I will try it. So that's what we did. I tried it. I bought the ebooks from the Savory Institute, and we worked with it. My partner was very skeptical, and we had to negotiate about the pastures where I could try it and where not. But yeah, what we saw was already very, it looked very good, but it doesn't look like I read it in the ebooks. So this is when I asked Christopher and Sheila to come, because I thought there must be even more possible. And what I learned in the meantime is that holistic management is not about moving cattle, but it is about making the right decisions which have ecological, economical, and social benefits. And this was new to me, because I thought it's about moving cattle. But I have to learn otherwise. Yeah, we learned from Sheila and Christopher about the ecosystem processes, and I'm sure many of you know them already. And I don't know how it feels for you, but for me it was like someone opened my eyes, and I can never see the world like I saw it before. And it's so funny because it looks so different since then. So yeah, and if you can see it with this new eyes, then things are so logic. And I often ask myself, why didn't we see it earlier? So this was a very, yeah, nice experience. Yeah, here you see the, let's say, the heart of holistic management. So I said it's not about moving cattle, but it is about moving cattle. this is our grazing plan, and this is the most important piece of paper where we look on every day, and it gives us a lot of information. And yeah, we had to really change our behavior a lot. I can say, so I have learned to be a farmer. Karl is a farmer since many years now, and I can say we do now everything different than we learned it at school. And this was a little bit hard at the beginning for us. So, for example, when we first saw a picture like this, and we saw, oh, how many pasture is wasted there, and how will it look like? Do we have to mow it afterwards? And so it was a lot of questions we had. And then, yeah, a week later it looked like this, and we thought, oh my God, how does it look? Will there ever be a good pasture again? And oh, what is this? And it was very, yeah, funny and exciting, but we soon saw the what happened. So between the old grass, the new grasses came out, and what we saw was that the soil was covered, and this is what saved our life, our food in those dry years, 2018 and 2019. Because after this pasture looked like this. So we had a very good grass production, and this was something even Karl, who was very skeptical about holistic management, he when he saw this, he said, okay, from now on I help you to build the fences. What he didn't do at the beginning, I had to do it on my own. But now he helps, and now we even do it on cropland, and it's very exciting. Yeah, so the biggest advantage.
Viviane, I'd like to interrupt you. Mm-hmm. If you could just go back to that last picture, please. Someone had a question, and they wanted to know, do you know on this slide what amount of recovery period they had approximately? I mean, was it days or weeks or
I
months?
would say it was for 4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So this is our recovery time when we go around the pastures.
Okay, thank you.
Whoops, I always have to look here. Yeah, and this is the ground cover. So this was the biggest difference we had, and yeah, this was really a good experience. And yeah, I show you other photos where it will come clear.
Okay, Viviane, we've got another question, if that's all right.
I saw it.
Yeah.
So
what year did you start?
I started holistic plant grazing at the beginning of 2017, but just from the ebooks. And yeah, we did so stupid mistakes that we mowed. After we wasted so many pasture, we came in with a tractor and mowed it down because it looked so untidy. And then it was in November 2017 when Sheila and Christopher came over, and since then we are doing holistic plant grazing. And how about the animal density? Yeah, it's not so much about the animal density sometimes, but it's more about the ecological, the ecosystem processes. And sometimes we use animal density to get a good ground cover, but not always. So it's very, it's, how can I say it? It's, you don't have a recipe that you say you put so-and-so many cattle on so-and-so little place. It's much more complex.
Viviane, maybe you could just give some indicators so they know your stocking rate, like how many hectares of land and how many livestock units, and then we can calculate your stocking rate, just to give them some idea.
We have 70 hectares, and at the moment we have 65 animal units.
Yeah, so it's roughly 1 hectare per livestock unit. And because a lot of people know holistic management here, maybe you can just say what your brittleness is and explain a little bit about brittleness.
Yeah, but there we are still discussing. Because Sheila told me, and Christopher told me, that the brittleness scale, that this wouldn't change. And I don't believe it, because when we started holistic management, we were at the, I would say, 4 or 5 on brittleness scale. So we have a lot of moisture during the year, but this changed in 2018 and 2019. And for the first time, we really had brittle grass. I remember when Christopher wanted to explain me what brittle means, because I never heard this word in English. And he wanted to explain it to me, and he took a grass and said, you should hear it. You should hear it when you break it down. And you couldn't show it here because it was always moist enough, but not during the last 2 years. So I guess it changed. Sheila, what is your idea? Yeah, here, this was a nice example from a pasture which really persuaded Carl a lot, because this is a pasture to the south. And here you also see the dates. So this was in April when we moved over this pasture for the first time. So here you see in the front, the cows already have been, and now they are on the other pasture. And this is the amount of grass we leave there. And this was, we were lucky, because after this there was not a lot of rain anymore. And we were the second time out in this pasture, and in June, and this was so remember, it was November 2017 when Sheila and Christopher were here, and they showed us a video where cows were in a pasture and you could hardly see the cows because the grass was so high. And this is what we had here then in this year. So I was very happy about it. Yeah, this was in June, already very dry everywhere, and we had on this south mountain, we still had green grass. And this was untypical for normal years, because in normal years, this pasture was used to make silage. Is this the right word? And after this, you had put on the cows very fast, because otherwise it would dry out. And even in this dry year, 2018, it still was green. So we were very happy about it. And here is how high it was. It doesn't look quite like in the video, because in the video what we saw the grass was still green. Here it's already with seed heads, but we will manage the other thing also. We are on a good way, I think. And I show you other photos. Perhaps this year we can almost make it. So here you see it's July 2018. Everything around was very dry and our south pasture was still green. And also later in the year, this was August, without rain for a long time, and we still had food outside, and this also at the end of August, and then it started raining again. And when it started raining again, we had still 1 month of pastures before us. So we had still enough food outside and we could make enough hay. So we were there weren't so many farmers which had enough food that year. And 2019, it was even worse because it was the second year in a row that it was so dry. And again, it was the ground cover which helped us a lot because then the ground doesn't get so hot and you really feel it if you put your hand down. And here on the left on the picture, you see even when it's very dry outside, you have the what is the English word? The dew. So you have the water in the morning on the grass, and this helped a lot. So it helps when you improve the ecosystem processes. And we do this with the cows as a tool. On our farm, we move the cows twice a day. And sometimes we have 50 animal unit on 1,000 square meters, but this is the most density we do at the moment. For example, we go over the pastures very fast and they have much more space. This is how it looked like in 2017. So you see 50% bare soil. And I'm still surprised that I didn't see this earlier because it was so normal for us. Here you see 2019 and the same plot 2020. And there is a lot of improvement. And this is a big thing in holistic management, that you plan, and I liked a lot that you assume you are wrong, that you look at the first signs to see if you are wrong. And I liked the idea very much. You should use the app Canopy to measure the ground cover. We have the ecological monitoring, and I show you. So here, for example, we did a pasture, and here we did the comprehensive ecological monitoring in 2019 and now 2020, and you see how much it changed. So this is really an improvement, and it's so nice to see those numbers and it's nice to see how it works outside. So if you now walk over the pastures, and there is much more ground cover. This year we have to start a little bit new again, because we had so much rain during the winter. We had almost 6 months of rain, so every pasture was very, very wet, and so a lot of the ground cover disappeared. and we have to build it up with the herd again.
Viviane, we have a question from Michaela, and it's in German. So if you could read it and then tell us in English the question, please.
Yeah, Michaela asked, what do the numbers mean? Oh, I'm sorry, it's percent. So in April 2019, we had 48% bare soil, and now we have only 19% bare soil. And we didn't have any litter, and a little bit, 19% litter 2. Litter 2 is what you, where you can't tell anymore if what plant it was. So in litter 1, you see the plant. You can say it's old grass or something, and in litter 2 you can't tell this anymore. And yeah, so all this has changed a lot. Capping means that the but how can be bare and be covered? Yeah, like you see on the photo before. Here, this is a little bit. Yeah, here you have a lot of bare soil. 40. Yeah. Now I understand your question. I'm sorry. This covered doesn't mean it's not. No, it's not the plants, but it's also the litter. Yeah, so it's covered with litter also. So this is a little bit confusing. I'm sorry. So this is not 100% altogether. Yeah. But what is important to see how the things change here. So this is, I put several, which are normally in the spreadsheet on different columns. I put them all together here. I'm sorry to confuse you.
So Viviane, just to help people, this monitoring, this is with the dart throw. Is this the comprehensive monitoring?
Yes.
So let me just explain a little bit how that goes, and that will help people understand a little better. What we do in the comprehensive monitoring is we take a dart, you know, so a sharp point, and we throw it behind us, so we get a random data point, and we throw it 100 times in an area, in a pasture, so that you can replicate it. And we want to do it at the same time each year. And so you can see it was both done in April, which is great. And what we measure then is what the dart point hit. And what that's showing here is that the amount of bare soil in 2019 was really half of the dart points hit bare soil. But in 2020, roughly 20%, 19% hit bare soil. And that's indicating a dramatic improvement. And also the fact that you have a lot less capping. So capping is where the soil just is impermeable to air and water. And the fact that you just have more cover. So it's everything, the indicators are really improving here significantly. Okay, back to you, Viviane.
Yeah, so the important thing is to have the right animals with the right behavior at the right place for the right reason. And this is what we have to learn always, and where we always, you can say every day you make little experiments. So if it's better to give the animals a little more, or if it a little bit better to put them a little with more density. So every time you can do little experiments and see then the results. And yeah, this is very fascinating if you love experiments. And the key is recovery time. So it's important to let the land rest, and then yeah, you get a lot of grass for this. And it's also important to have a lot of solar panels still standing. So this is why we now waste such a lot of pasture. And it's again, I so much love it if I now go out to the cows and we bring them to a new pasture, and you see the old pasture is already growing so much. So you see the pasture where the cows have been 2 days ago, and you think, ah, look how much feed they have again. So you could almost go back there, but then you would overgrass the plants. But from the amount of food you have, yeah, it's just amazing. And I really enjoy it. Yeah, and here, perhaps for you, it's also a repetition for most of you. But if you have only 2 pastures and change them, you can have a recovery time in this case from 60 days. And the more pastures you have, the more recovery time you can have in all those little pastures. And this is what we try with moving the cows even 2 times a day. So every pasture has at least now more than 4 weeks recovery time. And we can enhance this recovery time for later in the year when it gets more dry. We can use other pastures which we now make for hay. Then we can even increase the recovery time.
Oh, Viviane, we've got another question from John. He wants to know, can you give rest periods through the year? And also, how often do you graze a pasture annually?
Yeah, as I said, the rest periods are 4 weeks now in springtime, and we can increase this to 6 weeks if we use other pastures also. And how often we grass them, it depends. And we learned that the more often you grass them, the better the pastures are. So it almost looks like if nature wants to show us what she can do for us. So we had, this was quite funny last year, we have 2 pastures where we, on those pastures we grazed much more, because when we went the round, we started on this pasture and they came back on this pasture because before they went to another bigger pasture. And so we had 2 those little pastures who were grazed twice as much. And guess what? They were the best pastures we had. So this is why we are now going very fast over all pastures, because I want to have all pastures at least grazed 5 times a year. This is my goal, because then they look very good. Yeah, and those little creatures are also a reason why the pastures look so good now, because the more the grass grows, the more roots we have, the more sugar the roots give into the soil and feed our little animals, which are a very big part of the farm now. What type of fencing are you using? Yes, we use a lot of mobile fences. We have fixed fences around the big pastures, but in the pastures we have mobile fences. so we can be very quick with moving the cattle. Yeah, the microorganisms together with the plants help us circle the nutrients, build soil structure, and bind soil carbon. And it was 1 gram of soil carbon can hold 8 grams of water. So this is also something which can make us more and more independent from the rain. And I had the opportunity to show this here in our village. We have an engineer who is helping with flood prevention, and I explained this to him, and he was very interested, because his son did a study and they showed that we don't have more heavy rains. So heavy rains we already had all the years. So there was no sign of more heavy rains, but we have more floods. And they were asking, why can this be? And I could give them the answer. Yeah, the more species, the higher the resilience. And this is also what we try with the animals. So we have also chickens moving around the pasture, and we have some sheep which are not from us but from a neighbor village, and we were happy to integrate them in our pasture. And they don't need to pay anything. They have only one rule: never go twice on a pasture. So they have always to change. Could you measure already an increase in soil carbon on your pastures? I can't answer this because we don't have the examination of the soil, so I can't tell you this. But it feels like the soil improves a lot, and I can tell this from when we move the cows to a new pasture. We make them, we open the fence with a PVC pipe, and we have an iron stick to put the PVC pipe over. And this iron stick, at the beginning, in the first year, we had always to put it in with a hammer. And last year in autumn, even when it was very dry, we could just put it in. So the soil was so loose, and so it was really nice. Now it has changed a little bit again, because, as I said, it was very, very wet in winter, and then very, very wet and very, very dry in spring. And so it's a little bit hard again now, but I think it will change quickly again.
On the winter, Bart wants to know, do you keep the animals all year on pasture? Do you have any issue with the soil structure due to wet soil in winter?
This will come later. So we are working on it. I will show that it works to have them out all year, but it's not yet. One reason was because we didn't have enough food out in the winter last year, and because of all the rain. But we are working on it, and the pastures get better and better, because when you have more roots in the soil, they are not so easily destroyed. And I will show you data how we increased the time. So yeah, we also work with the microorganisms now on the cropland, as I said. We are also there working with the ecosystem processes and try to improve them. And this is also very interesting. We learn a lot of new things. Here is a direct drill where we have a lot of ground cover, then also on the cropland. And this is how it looks compared to the neighbor. Do you see my pointer?
Yes, I do. I do see your pointer.
Okay, because here on the what did I spray on the picture? Microorganisms, so compost tea. So here on the left you see our field, and on the right you see the neighbor's field, and you see the color and you see the texture. So here you have a lot of capping, and here it's almost all broken. Do you feel that maybe the pastures that were grazed twice as much as the others and performed better are an indicator that stocking rate can and maybe should be increased? Yes and no. Yeah, warte, Michaela. Yes and no. So in normal years, I think, yes, we could increase stocking rate, but as we had 2 very, very dry years, we were very happy with the stocking rate we had. So we had enough food, but it wouldn't be good to have more animals. But hopefully years will get normal again, and then we can increase the stocking rate. What did I spray? Compost tea. And capping means Verdichtung. Yeah, so the soil is very hard, and in our soil you can move the soil with the fingers. In the neighbor's soil you can't do this. And here you also see the neighbor field, and look how much soil he has already lost. So a lot of the soil, when it rains, goes to the back, and it goes in our pasture, so it's not too bad, at least for us. Yeah, and as I said, we don't have a rain problem, we have an infiltration problem. And this makes it also that we don't have enough rain, because the soil is not like a sponge anymore. And here you should hear Walter Jean, which also made a webinar with Sheila and Christopher, and he explained it so nicely. So I can really recommend him. Yeah, and this was also something, and when I showed this to our flood preventing engineer, he was very surprised, because he didn't know that farming or that management on the farm can make such a big difference. And so I explained him the water infiltration test, what we did. We did this at the beginning from holistic management, and it was 2018, and we stopped because the water didn't disappear. So we waited 15 minutes and waited, and the water didn't disappear. And I made these photos also for a presentation in November, and it disappeared. Moment, I can't see it here, in 1 minute 20 seconds. And this was half a liter on this little piece of land. This means around 70 liter per square meter. And this was a number where our engineer was very surprised, and he said, wow, he didn't know that management on the farm can make such a difference. And he even invited me to speak when they speak for flood prevention. But yeah, then Corona came and put everything to hold. And here are some more numbers. because this is also a very nice thing. When you have your grazing chart, you can calculate and you can collect numbers. And so here you see, and as I said, 2018 and 2019 have been very, very challenging years for us. And 2019 was even worse because it was already the second year. And we managed to have to have 1 week of grazing more. And I'm sure this year this will improve even more, because one mistake we made still in 2019 is that we grazed too much, because yeah, it's at least for us, it was so difficult to change this behavior, because you put cattle out to graze the grass. So, and to just let them really move them over the pasture very fast, it really needed a lot of behavior change for us. But now, yeah, I still remember when Christopher and Sheila tried to explain us that you, over the summer, you try to let the grass grow with the pasture, with the herd, that when the growing season stops, you have a lot of grass for the non-growing season. And I know the first time I heard it here and lost it here, because this can't be. Because when you grass a pasture, then it's empty. How can it be that, yeah, then at the end of summer, you have such a high pasture? But we will show this year that it is possible, because already now when we move our cattle, yeah, every time the cattle comes back on a pasture, the grass is higher. And yeah, now I believe what they told us at the beginning. Yeah, and you see we also put up the stocking rate, because we are still increasing our herd. And what you also can see here, the animal days per hectare, or we say Tagesfutterration pro hectare, we could also increase already a lot. And as I said again, it were 2 challenging years. I think there is even more possible when the year is quite normal. Oh, yeah, Malek, thank you for answering already. Animal unit, and this is GV, this is the German, for the German people. Yeah, and here I want to show you our best example. It's a little pasture, it's only 1/4 of a hectare. But this is really my goal for all the pastures now, and then we will see what is possible. So this was at the end of November in 2019. So here is when the growing season stops and you have very high pasture. So it could look like this. And then we put the cattle out there, and on the 1st of January, this was a dry day, and it stops raining, yeah, for the first time since weeks. And I thought, oh, we will let the cattle out on this nice pasture. And they enjoyed it a lot, and I enjoyed it a lot, because if you saw the cows, you thought it's spring and not the 1st of January. Then we had them again on this pasture on the 22nd of March. And yeah, so you can see how the recovery time was. And this is how it looks now I see it outside the window here, and we will go there with the cows tomorrow. So it's already, we have the beginning of May, and we will use this pasture for the third time. And yeah, I'm so proud of it. So this is where my goal for all the pastures we have here. And I can tell you, this is not even everything what is possible, because this is what you see when you look from above. When the cow were outside on the 1st of January, because everything was very wet, they made a lot of holes into the ground. So we see here some bare soil. So imagine when this bare soil is gone, then we have even more. So this is very exciting. Yeah, so holistic management gives us the tools and the decision-making processes to reach things we never thought were possible. So it's really, really, yeah, such a rewarding thing. So more information, you can always ask Sheila and Christopher. They are very, very good teachers, and I'm so thankful. And yeah, as I'm an accredited professional also, we do the workshops now also in German. So if you would be interested, you can ask. So now, are there any questions?
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions, Viviane. So one is, why didn't you let them graze in that pasture in November? It was just a few slides back.
Because it was raining, 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 and the water was like this on the pasture. Yeah, and no, then
Okay.
I didn't want to hurt this pasture. So I used the first day when it was dry for 2 days, then we went on it, but not in November. Yeah.
Okay. And the next one is, have you noticed a significant increase in biodiversity since you started with holistic management?
We are now working together with a university, and hopefully for next year we can do a study. I hope so, that we can show it. So what I can tell you, I think it's more, but I didn't measure it. Yeah, so I saw, for example, more butterflies, but someone told me this was a year when anyway there were a lot of butterflies. So I can't prove it to you, but we will have hopefully next year the study done, which will take 3 years, and then I can hopefully prove it with numbers.
Then Mike wants to know, how about your neighbor? Is your neighbor interested in what you're doing?
Yeah, this is a little bit funny. Not yet. Yeah, they are looking from far apart, but not yet. I think with the pasture, it's not so important for them. I think they will be more curious what will happen on the cropland. And when we have their good results, I think this will be an argument for them, yes.
And then Julian wants to know, do you take hay and silage from the same areas or pastures where you're grazing, or do you buy it from somewhere else?
We don't buy it, so we either use the pastures where we graze or don't graze now in spring, where we go later, or we have pastures, pastures where we can't go with the cattle because it's too far away or it's over a big road, and there we make hay or silage.
And Rasmus would like to know, what's your breed of cattle and why don't you graze all year round?
Our breed of cattle is Clanrind. This is an old German breed, which was used for milk, meat, and work. And we don't graze all year round because in the winter it was too wet and we didn't have enough food outside. So I'm working on it.
Yeah.
It won't be in my holistic context forever, because we decided our holistic context is that the cows will be in for 3 months to make to give us the resources for composting. But at least I want to show it once that it works. This is my goal.
Got it. And then John wants to know, had you been using artificial fertilizer prior to 2017 or any other chemicals on your pastures?
Not other chemicals, but artificial fertilizer, yes.
Right.
This was normal practice, but not since 2017.
Right. And how were you grazing? What was your grazing method before 2017?
Before 2017, we had milking cows, and the pasture was just their sport place. So
yeah, so like set stock grazing or
yeah.
Continuous grazing? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So they were fed in the stable and could walk outside to have some exercise and nibble a little bit of grass, and it was set stock.
Yeah. And then Julian says, don't you have any problems with selective grazing in cows resulting in weeds and grass which dominates in the long term, which cows don't eat? Do you have some plants that cows won't eat?
No. And this was the behavior of the cows changed. And this was what I saw last autumn, because before this, I always heard the cows had to eat the upper half of the grass and then move on. And I said, our cows didn't read the book, because some grasses they just left behind, and some grasses they grazed very deep on the ground. But last autumn I saw a difference in behavior, and it's much more even now. So now they are really starting only eat the upper half of the grass. I can't explain you why, it just happened. And I observe it now when they have been out for the first days. It was again this behavior with a short and not so short grazing, but now it looks very even if you look over the pastures. So they eat everything. And in the opposite, the pastures look look much more better, because we used to have a lot of dogs or ampfer. And
Ducks, yep.
And this disappears more and more. So the pastures improve.
I think it means your grass is becoming more delicious.
Yes, perhaps.
Okay, now next question comes from Sam, and he wants to know, are you integrating your cattle onto your cropland?
Yes, we are starting this, at least where we can. And we have a nice experience when we brought out the cattle at the beginning of April. We put them on a cropland, and just 1/3, because we didn't dare more. And so there was the little crane already like this, and we put on the cows there. And now you don't see a difference between the crane what was grazed and this what was not grazed. So this was a nice experience. And we also had the cows in the cover crop last year. So this is what we also do, yes.
And then Andreas wants to know, how quickly did you stop the fertilizer use? Was it sudden, or did you phase it out?
We did it sudden, because this is what we negotiated. I said, I want to do holistic management, and they said the the yield will increase without fertilizer. So this is what we do. And I could do it with 10 hectares at the beginning. And yeah, this is what we had. So we had more yield without fertilizer. And this was what persuaded Karl, because he was very skeptical at the beginning.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, can you explain how cropland is followed now under holistic management versus the past? Have you made any change in your cropland?
Yes, we made change. As I showed you, we experiment with direct drilling, that we have a soil cover. We do a lot with compost tea and yeah, with cover crops and put the cattle in. So this is all new to us, because we normally were a conventional farm with lots of fertilizers and lots of biocides, and now, yeah, we stopped this.
And are you happy with the results? Have you been tracking the yield in your cropland?
Yeah, this was as we started it last year, that we said we won't fertilize there also, and no biocides. The yield was not good, but I think this year will be better.
Okay.
I think there the land needs a little bit recovery time also, because yeah, there were such a lot chemicals put out the years before, and I think you can't expect the soil to be very healthy and productive from one year to another with such a big change. But some fields are looking very good now, and I'm very hopeful.
Robin wants to know, how many enterprises do you have, and can you tell us the names of the enterprises on the farm?
How many enterprises?
So you've got cattle, beef, you've got all the arable, the cropland. You've got your veterinary practice still.
Yes, yes.
And dog training. Do you have any other businesses on the farm?
No, we have the farm, which is one business, and yes, I'm a vet and a dog trainer. This is the other business. And yes, we have a pork on the logo, because we also have some pigs. And I would really like to see the pigs also rotating, but the German law for keeping pigs is very, yeah, we can't do this. We are happy to put the pigs out there, but they can't rotate.
Okay. And how do your grass biomass yields compare to when you were using fertilizer? Are you growing more grass than when you had fertilizer?
Yes. Yeah, this is what I say, what persuaded Karl about holistic management, because our pastures produce more now than they did before with fertilizer, and now without fertilizer.
And the next one from Heather is about the stocking rate, and they basically have 1 hectare per livestock unit. And then John, before starting holistic management, did you use chemicals for parasites in the cattle? And since starting with holistic management, is the health of the cattle better?
Yeah, the health is better. No, normally we didn't use chemicals for parasites, because I always hated this, and we never did this. But the health is improving a lot, and this we see, for example, when they are shedding their fur, and now there are already a lot of animals which have shedded the fur in the year, and when we started it, it took until June that they did it. So there you see the animals look much more healthy. The fur is shiny, and yeah.
Yeah, good. How do you deal with weeds like nettles or irritations like mole, a mole hole? Do you use the tractor on the pasture for those reasons?
Nettles aren't weeds for me. Nettles are mineral plants. So whenever I have time, I go the day before the cows move into this pasture and mow the nettles with a
scythe.
With a scythe, yes, because cows love it when it's dry, and they get a lot of minerals from it. So yeah, I changed my my perception of many plants. And what was the other part of the question?
Do you know what a mole hole is?
Yeah.
You know?
No, we don't. Normally we don't use a tractor. Yeah, this is perhaps a little bit of disadvantage, because when you go over our pastures now, it's a little bit like this. Yeah, sometimes we have the animal impact when the cows are running and distributing it again. So they do the job, but we don't use a tractor in the pastures anymore, not in the inner pastures.
Do you provide any mineral licks to the animals, or did you in the past?
No, we do provide even now, but what we see is that they don't need so much than they did before. It gets less.
All right. Heather wants to know the stocking density for each move, but I think you already said you don't know that.
Oh yes, I know it perfectly.
Oh, okay.
So we have this night there is one animal unit on 100 square meters. Yeah, so and this is, yeah, because we are moving now very fast. Sometimes we have it more dense, so our densest was 50 animal units on 1,000 square meters.
Okay, very good. And then one more question. Don't the cows spread them out themselves? I'm not sure what that means. Maybe you can rephrase whatever that question was. I don't understand the question. And how is the health of the cows? Let's see. We've answered that one already. About growing cereal after grass, what have you observed and what challenges or improvements have you seen?
We don't grow cereals after grass because we either have grass or we have cereals.
Okay, I think we got all the questions. Well done, Viviane. That was a lot of questions. Okay, I want everyone to give her a round of applause. You've got a reaction button. Let's have you give a round of applause, everybody. That was so well done, Viviane. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And I hope my English was good enough to understand.
Yes, perfect. Now, if you could stop showing your PowerPoint, I just want to show my PowerPoint again one more time, please.
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Okay, so now just a few announcements here. If I can get it to advance. All right, so we have been teaching holistic management online for the last 2 years, and we've got another course coming up, and it starts this Wednesday, the next series. And I want to encourage you, if you haven't already taken holistic management, now's your chance. And a lot of people tell me, they kind of object and they say, oh, I really couldn't learn online. I really could only learn on a farm. And I understand that. But we're very creative, and I get a lot of positive feedback about the online learning. And one of the biggest benefits is we slow things way down. So you get to do all the exercises for your farm, and then you get a lot of questions answered that way. So I really want to encourage you to think about going online, and it's a very powerful way to learn. And please subscribe to the 3LM YouTube channel. We're always putting new stuff out there. And this video will be out there. And it's a great way for you to learn, because it's just packed with information that's really valuable. And subscribe to the 3LM newsletter. If you're not on the newsletter, please do subscribe, because we put a lot of news and information related to holistic management. And thank you for coming tonight. And thank you, Viviane. That was a fantastic presentation. I really enjoyed hearing from you.
Yeah, thanks to everybody. Hi, Malik.
And the online classes are on sale right now. They're a 30% discount. And just go to the 3LM website, 3lm.network, and then click on training, and you'll see all the pricing right there. So we've got a 30% discount because of COVID-19. That's going on until the end of May. So now's the time. If you want to do it, take the class now. You'll get a nice discount.
And I can really recommend it.
Super. Okay. Thank you so much, Viviane.
Bye, Sheila. Thank
Bye.
you. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.